Crap, been misplaying. Yeah, you're supposed to pull more than one commodity card when you're playing with. You draw as many as you draw rail lines. I've been noticing, geez, we're just not seeing the growth. It's an interesting situation because everybody's kind of, what I was going to comment was, wow, once you get on the loan train, it really reams you one. I don't know what value there is to continuing, but I'm not going to redo this. So I'll just start pulling them and we'll see how much difference it kind of makes. But we're going to be seeing 5 of these cards coming out each turn. That means there's going to be commodities all over. There's going to be opportunities to deliver and get your income up no matter what, which is going to change the matter of things. Probably not going to be able to learn too much about the multiplayer game given the start here. But again, I don't want to restart it. Alright, let me pull all those cards. Ooh, that's kind of a painful mechanic to have all those cards coming out each turn. Ouch. But anyway, before I noticed my screw up, I had, you can notice almost everybody's got a loan now, only black doesn't. Which is because the money was paid out to such a... The income tracks have been so low that nobody had enough cash. Everybody was looking and saying, oh, damn, you know, if I want a railroad, I have to take out a loan if I want to buy some of these cards up here. There are some I definitely want, and I'm hoping that they'll score me some bucks. It's actually kind of an interesting game with a lesser number of these. I'm curious about how much you can play around with that. Obviously, 1 in a 6-player game is ridiculous. But I think a lower number, or maybe a slowly growing number, might create some interesting dynamics that you could kind of mod the game without a lot of effort and get some very, very different flowing games out of it. Of course, more luck because, hey, you don't even know if an area is going to get hit or not. But you get victory points for these. If they don't look too valuable at the time, you can say, okay, well, you know, I'll bid a buck on it, you know, I get something for it no matter what. But yeah, you can luck into things that way. Anyway, like I said, we'll keep going here. Try to pay very little attention to it and just get things moving along with the purchases. Alright, well, everybody bought. Some of these tracks are going, well, everybody except Black, who actually let this go for a buck. Some of these are going for very, very low. In Black's case, they really wanted the double movement. They're trying to win by boosting their income the most they can. Some of them went fairly high, but nothing really steamed the prices the way we had been seeing. The Providence to Worcester, I think, went for 7. You know, so you're seeing a pretty big distinguishment as to how valuable people are kind of guessing the track's worth. One of the problems I have with this game, I didn't mind it too much in 2, but it's almost like playing a very, very abstract game. I mean, yes, I'm buying these little rail links, but it doesn't really matter too much how much I'm connected. All it really matters, there's a little bit of, hey, can I deliver this over my trains for the most part? But it's just a little too abstract for my taste when it comes down to it. I don't mind it opposed anywhere near as much. But playing solitaire, there's almost no storyline coming out of it. You know, it's like playing a game of cards solitaire. So it's not a good candidate for these kind of playthroughs in the same way that, well, I don't know, a lot of things like Court of the Medici. It's not going to suit it very well. All right, let's see. and it's more complex in terms of the decision making, in terms of all the things you have to pay attention to. It's actually fairly complex in that side, which is also a negative for me because I have to think too much while I'm either on video or you don't get to see any of it. Not that the thinking is necessarily of any value here. Okay, so we did the buildings. Now we're going to do the shipping commodities. The first freebie is black, and he's got to choose. Does he want to do the blue one that gets him $3 right away? Oh, sorry, $2 right away. I find it very hard to distinguish that this box is here and not that I have to ride this train or whatever. Or to use this yellow, which I could give myself 2 and someone else 1. My feeling is whoever uses the yellow, I'm probably going to get at least 1 out of. Somebody might misuse this blue terribly. Where would they put it? Possibly up there. I'll deliver this for the $2 because I may get nothing out of it if I do that. And then that gets us back to black, or to gray, to deliver the next one. Try to figure out where people are going to drop things. So here's where our income cubes end up afterwards, and black is still cranking. They managed to get the double turn, right, because they got the freebie here, then gray went and delivered something, but they didn't really have to worry. Gray had something decent to do. Black went again. Green, I think, didn't deliver anything at all. They were in a position where every cube out there that they could hit again, even though I've got that increased quantity of cubes coming out, was a problem. Now, I think had I been playing all along correctly, there'd be plenty of cubes on the board. When I was playing the 2-player game, which would be equally balanced, yeah, you're not supposed to play a 2-player, whatever. When I was playing the 2-player game, which would have an equal or a similar distribution of amount of cubes delivered versus amount of cubes showing up, there were a couple of turns where there was nothing to deliver really, or very little, where there was a significant disincentive. Well, there was a good incentive to just pick up track because there was just nothing out there worth playing, taking that extra pass for. But I think that's probably pretty rare in this kind of situation. Springfield Dolp. I'm putting this out early. It doesn't really hurt to do that. Well, I'll do it in a moment. But yeah, that's where we are, and this is the income we're going to get. We'll see if people can start paying off their loans. But black is making the best income. Their card hand isn't that bad. They're 1 below the leaders. The leaders are holding 4 cards each. But they don't have a loan. And when you're looking, some people have a $20 loan out. Well, you got to subtract that off these points, right? And with black getting the highest income, well, it could just be that black's cubes have come out early. It's definitely the case that things are very, very random. Playing in 2 players, with only 1 of these coming out, the world doesn't change that much between hands. But playing with a lot of people, with all these cubes coming out, there's just sort of this random, hey, did something fall on me that's any good? And that doesn't really add too much to it for me either. I mean, when you have the sort of lack of story and that chaos going on, or lack of really a picture of a company running here, yeah, I'm not sure this one appeals too much. Well, another rules error. In this case, probably not too big a one. Whether money is secret or open, money is... the game is agnostic about it. I thought it specified secret. That's a bleed over from Automobile, which I had recently played. Again, the problem with me not working my way through the rule book right on camera, because honestly, you know, it's just been a couple of days since I played this, but bunch new cubes out. This game moves too quickly in 6 players for me to really focus in and see what happens, and likewise more of these. You know, I don't think the playthrough's worth very much at this point anyhow, so I'm just kind of phoning it in. Seems like I've phoned this whole damn thing in at this point. But I would like to finish this game and talk about it a little bit for whatever it's worth. Price points for the railways have gone down. A couple of reasons. One is these loans sitting out there have hurt a lot of players. Black didn't really want to buy anything in particular. They managed to get this sucker for $2, and that's pretty good. It's got a couple of cubes on it. But they probably aren't going to deliver those cubes. They've got to make deliveries down here, and that's too far away. Green was interested in it, but ended up bailing. They've got a couple of cubes they can deliver and need to make a lot of income ground, I guess. I don't know. But what it really, comes down to is with all the cubes, with the loans, there are better options than buying. Now, this probably should have gone for more than it did. But I throw a lot of randomness into what my bids are on this. Because it's really, I don't know. These games, I'm just not willing to put the interest into them, solo especially. They're a little bit, I kind of enjoyed them opposed a little bit better, but they're just too much like an abstract. And a pile of deliveries are made. This is where we end up in the positioning. A lot of people gained on black here. Green taking the extra delivery, made up some ground, there's no question, but probably not as much worth, given that there's only going to be a couple of turns left. There's only one card here left. Not enough to probably make up for getting this, which is worth, say, $5. We'll see. But, and they're out of it anyway with that $20 loan and in such bad shape. It is becoming clear again, as it was in the two-player game. You really want to have a line of your own track, or areas where you have a lot of locality, because things that are spread out someplace like this, sure, somebody else may run you. In fact, that's almost guaranteed to happen, at least, to get the things out that you're sitting on that no one else can do. If you're doing poorly and there's a choice of players, well, then you have the advantage. But if you're the richer player, you're probably not going to get run where there's a choice. But it's when you have a string like this that you can really kind of get a boosting. If you don't have that kind of locality, and it doesn't have to be contiguous, you can see there's a gray one here, it's going to be very tough to gain more than $1 or $2 off your cube delivery. And other people probably aren't going to boost you by more than $1 or $2. Black got that early advantage just mainly because there were some cubes down here. Now they don't have much track. And their options, the thing they bought, for example, out here, that's going to be they're going to get $1 for each cube on there, but that's probably it. Nobody's going to bring to them unless there's no better place to go, which would be unlikely with them in the lead. But they got this for just a couple of bucks, so it's a pretty good deal for them, I guess, still. Alright, push on to the next turn. So I got a big roll of 10 plus 1 is 11. That's going to drop everybody's earnings a little bit. Well, all but one of the lines are out there now. There's one left, which is a little funky. But I guess it doesn't really matter. It gives a lot more opportunity to deliver on the last turn. And this is probably not worth much on that last turn unless it connects something. We got new cubes out, a lot of cubes in Boston. And some of the people actually retired some of their loans. Not because necessarily they had a lot of money. This guy's only got $3 left after retiring one. But there's just sort of this, well, I can deliver a couple of things, boost my income, make money. It saves me $2 off the loan. And who knows, at the prices things have been going, $3 may be enough to buy something even. So it doesn't seem worth it to hold on to the loan in this hope, of being able to buy something more valuable. You can only buy one railway. Well, all the rails sold except the New Haven and Bridgeport. Nobody wanted that. It has some value to Blue, but Blue ended up buying something else. Other people were unwilling to take, say, $6 by bidding $1 on it. I think that's a mistake. Either Green or Orange could have, or Salmon could have made a bonus off of that, but they just couldn't be persuaded. And now, where else are we? I guess the highest went was Fitchburg and Lowell for some reason. Went for $4 out of the 5. I think this went for more money, but in terms of proportion. And that gets rid of this. It's just, you know, it's a game where it's very tough to make these decisions, and I just don't want to do that in a solo game of this abstraction. That's what it really comes down to. So this is not a suitable game for me to learn the value of solitaire, I think. Maybe with less players it would be more interesting. But with so many players making choices that are essentially all these little discrete choices without some overarching goal. And that's the real problem. There is no overarching goal. There's the making the money. But it's not like, you know, an 18xx game where, yeah, I can make an investment. It's very easy for me to see what a stock value is or something like that. I don't have to worry about, oh yeah, how much money exactly can I make off that particular thing? How much can I make off that? I can do it a lot more on gut. And on this, I can make some actions on gut, but as we're getting to this point, it's fully calculable, I think. Minus whatever next turn's cubes are. But you have a pretty damn good idea of what you can make off any given action you take. A little bit of randomizing in terms of, you know, the income might drop or something. But again, if you don't do the math before you make the choice, and I don't want to do that for everyone, you're not making a good choice. So it's kind of like, well, it doesn't matter what I do. You can see where deliveries pushed things. Die roll came out to 8 plus 1 is 9, which means pretty much everyone loses $1 off their income. By taking the double turn, Salmon especially made good use of it. You can see Green didn't make too good a use of their 2 deliveries. And they also didn't manage to retire their loans. They're in really bad shape here. Some of the others, well, Black obviously losing some ground after buying another company, but they got a few bucks off that. And Blue likewise losing some ground on the chart, but they at least got a company off of it. But this coming out of Boston this way was really good for Salmon. I think some other people used them as well. Blue managed to get the excess from that and drop off into the blue zone there. Alright, well, we'll hand out the money. Okay, this is likely the last turn, but not guaranteed. First of all, the dice could come up badly for this. It's a 7, but whoever buys it could end up ending the game by paying that off. And there's a good chance of doing that. Even people who are behind may not want to play another turn, and they got the opportunity to bail out, and they will. I think it's pretty clear who's going to win. It's the guy who never took out a loan. Got some good purchases, got some nice routes early on, got a good jump on things. But it's possible that, say, Salmon, who's making more money, could buy this in the hopes of it not being completed. Anyhow, I pulled a full 5 of these cards this time. At this point in the game, you would only be pulling as many as there are railways up here, which is only 1 at this point, but a little bit different because I haven't pulled all of them, so I figured, hey, I'll give people a chance to boost their railways late in the game like this. Well, they can boost them higher, so that may be a balancing factor to the fact that they didn't have the cash early in the game. Whatever. Anyhow, let's see what this goes for. Who's interested in it? Probably the only person who might be interested in delaying the game are Sam and maybe Blue, in terms of trying to make their rails go more. And I will pull another 5 from here if they manage to get it. So that may boost the value of it. Everybody pretty much paid off their loans. This guy's still stuck with his $20 loan. He's just so hosed back here. Likewise, Pink hasn't been collecting much income. At least he's got some rail lines, though, so he's not completely out of it. But, you know, Black has like 30 bucks sitting here, I think. So, it's an ugly situation. Well, we've confirmed it's the last turn of the game. Salmon got it for 6 bucks. Black was unwilling to try to guarantee the end of the game here. They were willing, you know, they could have bought it for 7 or maybe more or whatever. But they're saying, hey, I can deliver 2 things. And this, in addition to, this is going to eat up a cube. It may mean 3-4 bucks for me. And chances are it was going to fall. And it did fall. Salmon's ended up there. Such is. Blue was also in the bidding for it, with sort of the same impression. Also, the fact that they have rails nearby that they could, for example, Blue could have delivered this Keen one here. And Salmon can do that as well and give them each 2. Blue got the free move, and I want to show you one of the advantages of being the first player and getting that free move or whatever, getting the first delivery. He takes this blue one, which other people might have taken, and drives it down here for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rail links, and ends up giving 1 to Pink, 1 to Salmon, and 3 to himself, which puts him up in the lead there. Okay, with all those cubes out there, income rose quite a bit. Everybody getting 2 actions to take. And there's the real thing is, as the cubes accumulate in good places and you have decent track, you may not want to buy something at all. You may want to just pass on it simply for the fact that you can produce a lot of revenue off of it. This guy kind of got boned, and you can see he fell far behind by not having a second play. Now we make the quick roll for this, and people are bound to go down at this point. It's a 10. That's 1 down, but 2 for everybody over the 20 mark. I'll hand out the money, I'll calculate it all out, and we'll see who won. And the totals we end up with are no great surprise. Black just, you know, totally trashed ahead with 66 bucks. Everybody had about the same in property, really. Salmon the highest at 44, but not a lot of cash on hand, and the difference just isn't that great. I think it's pretty tough, unless somebody plays very oddly, at least from my point of view, for someone to end up too far off on the property line. Basically, you'd have to pay a lot, more than everybody else is willing to pay, to get properties, and initially you don't have the cash to do that without taking into loans, which is going to cut your future productivity. In order to get a lot more property than someone else, you could of course play to get a lot less property than someone else. You know, settle yourself at a small 4 tracks or something like that, that you see there are a decent amount of cubes running out of, and just run that and run it and run it, and that may actually be a winning solution. But what we ended up with was everybody pretty much buying the same amount of property. Green falling behind, no question there. They had some real problems. They were, I think, the second person to take loans, and they just did not manage them well at all. The only person who did really, really well is the only person who did not ever take a loan. Does that mean loans are terrible? No. What it means is if you can get away with a reasonable track setup without taking loans, you're going to do better than people who can get a reasonable track setup with taking loans, I think. Is this reasonable, though? It looked like crap to me, which is why he was able to buy into that. He bought something that was not particularly desirable early on, a couple of them, and they weren't desirable to other people later in the game because they didn't really hook up much with the other people's tracks. It's not like he got everything cheaper for free. It's not like he didn't put bids in on other things as shown up here. Things that are useless to him except for their property value at the end, which was decent. But he paid a good deal for it too because other people were interested in it. Anyway, you know, obviously I cheated. I screwed up rules. Well, I didn't cheat particularly, but I screwed up the rules significantly enough that I don't think there's a lot you can draw from this playing. I don't think I'd be drawing a lot from this game anyhow. This is one of those games where there's not enough story for me to latch onto to really have a strategy ever. You know, like playing cards or something like that, I don't really think about it too much. I end up coming to patterns that work or whatever, but, you know, and I'll often do well at a game like this, but I just won't know why, because the story's not there enough for me to remember the game. Alright, up it goes.